How does someone get started in developing small properties?
Well, when I learned how to develop small properties, no one taught me because I worked for a big developer and he did high rises. So I learned how to sell, but I didn't know how to develop. So I started off with 6 homes on one lot, an apartment zone on Lunalilo Street between Picoy and Pensacola. That was my very first project. And I learned a lot. So over time, you learn how to do certain things. And we've done probably about 130, 140 projects for our own selves or for our clients. So the first thing we always ask, when someone calls me up, I'll say, what's your lot size and what's the zoning? And then I'll ask, how's the terrain? Is it steep? Because you can have 50,000 square feet of land in R5 zone land, but if it's like Billy Goat Country, you can't do anything with it.
Right.
Maybe one house if you're lucky.
Right.
So those are the real critical issues. Then the second is once they engage us into doing something for them, we have to do the sewer check, make sure there's adequate sewage. And by the way, there's certain parts of town that there's no adequate sewage. Or it's what they call marginally inadequate, and you might have to put in what they call a holding tank. So you flush the stuff into the holding tank, and they pump it out in the morning, 2 to 4 in the morning, and they allow you a building permit to build that second house. First house, they have to give you a permit. Second house, they don't have to. So we check for the water availability, sewer capacity, and fire protection. Now, if the fire department says, or the Board of Water Supply says, the fire pressure or water pressure on this fire hydrant is really low, like say 600 gallons per minute, the standard is 1,000 gallons per minute. The Board of Water Supply has written us once to say, we want 1,000 linear feet with 12-inch water main. And then you can get your permit to build 6 extra houses.
They want you to put that in.
Yes, and on city roads.
Wow.
So we squashed that deal because we couldn't do it. It was too expensive. But usually, the fire department will say, for 2 homes, we'll let you have a sprinkler system in the back house. And that should suffice for fire protection. The holding tank may suffice for the sewer. The water pressure may be a slight problem, because if your house is at the same level as a water tank, there's not enough gravity feed to have water pressure. Then you might have to buy a pump to pressurize your water. So those kinds of things happen once in a great while. So those are the 3 main things that we look for. Of course, access, width of the lot, steepness of the lot, things of that nature as well. And sometimes are there restrictive covenants on that property? Because if you're in a planned community, they might say you can't build another house, like Hawaii Loa, or Mililani Town Association or something like that.
What about, a few years back there was talk about Ohana zoning properties, and there was quite a bit from a certain period of time, and then it got stopped. So how does that get affected?
Well, I need to give you the short version because it takes a long time. But in a snapshot view, when Mayor Eileen Anderson was the mayor, you remember her, and back in the early 80s, she pushed for what they call accessory dwelling units. It was a state law that said every county shall create affordable housing and encourage extended family living. So the law allowed the counties to supersede the zoning. So if we had a 7,000 square foot lot in R5 zone land, you could build 2 detached homes and you didn't have to have 7,500 or 10,000 square feet. So people got all up in arms because, about one side, people got excited thinking they could build 2 homes. The neighborhood board said, we don't like it because you're adding too much density to the neighborhood. So in 1988, the city council passed an ordinance that said Ohana units will now be limited to 800 square feet, 700 square feet, 900 square feet, 1,000 square feet on the second unit if you want the Ohana permit. Well, that kind of squashed the Ohana projects because what can you do with 700 square feet? Then in 1992, they came out and revised the Ohana law to say you have to be related parties. You can't rent to anybody but related parties. The homes have to be attached. You cannot condominiumize and have the same size limit. Then last year, the city passed a law that said we'll lift the size limit on the Ohanas. So now there's no size limit, which is great. So you got 3 different dates and 3 different rules.
And if
so
you have
it's
any
very
questions,
complicated. Call me, because I tell you what, even realtors don't know this stuff. Yeah, it's very difficult to understand.
Well, I think that's it for this week. I mean, there's a ton of information. I think we're just scratching the surface. And the best bet is to call an expert. And I don't know. That's it for this week. I'm Jeff Horrig.
I'm Scott Sakata. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.